Okay. Um, Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session of the Fram talks at the Arctic Frontiers, where we will dive into the important work of communicating Arctic science. My name is Aksel Kjærvidnes. I'm the editor of the Norwegian online newspaper Forskning.no, which is the largest popular science magazine in the Nordic region. And I'm very excited to be hosting this talk where we will get some very interesting presentations first, and then we will have a little chat, and there will be open for questions and discussions. We will get 4 very interesting presentations with skilled communicators and scientists. The talk afterwards will be with Bo Andersen, astrophysicist and former Director General of the Norwegian Space Agency, and Lise Øvreås, professor at the University of Bergen, and former president of the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters. But first, I would like to introduce Juliet Landrø, who will share how the Norwegian Institute of Nature Research work to communicate their work. Please welcome.
Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hei, jeg heter Magni. Jeg jobber på Norsk institutt for naturforskning. Men da skal jeg ta dere med ut på myra.
Graver du I grava mi, så graver du din egen grav. Hør. Graver du I grava mi, så graver du en grav for andre og deg selv.
19,5.
Nature. I mean, it's so beautiful, but more importantly, it surrounds us and sustains us. My name, like Aksel said, is Juliet, and I work at NINA. And I mean, if anyone can communicate research with beautiful nature images, it should be us. But nature is also one of the things we take the most for granted in our daily life. The energy we use, the air we breathe, the food we eat, the forests where we play, and all the awesome species that live in nature. At NINA, these guys are typically statistics, numbers, and data. And it can be pretty depressing because a lot of the time, the red lines are plummeting straight down. So how do we communicate that with beautiful images? This is one example from last year, where we collaborated with NRK, the Norwegian Broadcasting Corporation, and we got support from the Research Council. And it started with a researcher who focuses on seabirds, and she was a bit frustrated that her publications and reports and papers didn't really reach out to people. Because, I mean, 70% of seabirds are gone globally. 70%, that's a huge number, but it's still hard to sort of take in what does it really mean. Visitors who come to the island of Runde outside Ålesund, they still see this spectacular nature. But researchers who see this same place, they see nature loss that's almost without comparison. So to visualize this difference, we dug into the archives at NRK. And in Naturmagasinet from 1968, we can see what it used to be like at this particular place.
Det artige at toppskarvkolonien her den største sør for polarsirkelen. Både storskarven og toppskarven har nemlig sin største utbredelse nord for polarsirkelen.
And more recently, in Dagsrevyen, the main Norwegian news broadcast, from 1990, this is what it looked like only a few decades ago. But since then, 100,000 kittiwakes have disappeared from this place. The bird cliffs here have become silent. And this visualized the statistics that the researchers had. And it was Signe Christensen Dalsgaard, who's a researcher at NINA, who took the cameras and everything out with her colleagues and found the same places that we found in the archives and took new pictures so we could see before and after. And this it reached more than 300,000 people on NRK.no, and it reached also far outside our own borders in The Guardian in the UK, as you can see. And after this, the seabird researchers sort of got a bit enthusiastic about taking videos and communicating their work. So they decided to document more of what they are doing now in the bird cliffs on the Norwegian coast. And through their lens, we can see how beautiful the bird cliffs still can be if we manage to save them. All the videos here were taken by the researchers at NINA and the Norwegian Polar Institute. And I mean, they have skills. It's amazing to work with them. They're really good. And one of the main challenges with science communication is that the currency for researchers is hard facts. They have to be precise, and they have to publish, and they have to prove everything that they publish. Whereas for us who do communication, we like stories and feelings. And I think when you combine these two things, the feelings and the stories and the facts, that's where the magic happens.
I dag skal vi på Husbergøya for å se om geitene gjør jobben sin. Hallo der! Har dere travet om dagen? Hæ? Geitene er på øya for å spise kratt og trær. Og det er viktig, for dermed holder de øya åpent og unngår gjengroing. Og vi i NINA vi er her for å gjøre vegetasjonsanalyser, og dermed ser vi om geitene faktisk gjør jobben sin. Og det gjør vi ved å registrere vegetasjonen, busker og fremmedarter i faste overvåkingsruter og sirkler. Her er geitene på jobb. Vi går løs på asal og berberis.
I know this is supposed to be in English, but I hope you understand enough Norwegian that it's okay that these are in Norwegian. There's one more.
Nei, 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 nei! Nei, nei, nei! Nei, nei, nei. Ikke noe mer nå. Den er Maja sin.
Yeah, this is basically the oldest trick on the internet, to use cats and cute animals to sneak in some facts about science. So we're quite pleased with this. And these videos are the researchers themselves who send it to us at Communications. So how does it end up in the claws of the communications team? And I think for us, at least, it's got maybe about 4 ingredients. It's a lot of nagging, or begging, you can say. Quite a lot of trust, freedom, and a lot of praise for all sorts of nerdy stories that we love. This is the comms team at NINA. It includes a librarian, a graphic designer, and our boss, Björg, and there's 5 of us who do sort of pure science communication, or how I should say it. And we love to sort of work very sort of hands-on, like making news stories, making reels, podcasts, streaming and that sort of thing. We sort of like to dig into the research and get it out there. And when our colleagues share something with us, almost always it ends up on our webpage or in our social media channels. And I mean, you've seen some of the fun stuff, but we also like to do more sort of, let's call it nerdy stuff as well. This is about a system for mapping different habitats and freshwater systems, and that nature is a huge carbon storage facility in itself. And when we put them out, not all our stories end up on the front page of the tabloids or at NRK, but sometimes something happens later that makes this sort of communication mainstream after all. This was a huge news story at NRK at the beginning of last year, and it was about how so much of Norway is getting built on every day. And here the researchers, and it also ended up as a TV program called Oppsynsmannen. And in this case, we didn't really do so much as a communications team. It was the researchers themselves who spoke to NRK. They did all the work together. And I think that's part of our job as well, to enable our colleagues to feel confident enough that they can speak to journalists themselves, they can communicate themselves, and show their work without sort of having to involve us all the time, even if we love to be involved. So one of the ways we, now I'm scared to say the pun I was going to say. One of the ways we make communication second nature to their nature researchers, is to do a lot of communicating together. So sometimes we do go out into the field and make stories and film and take pictures and that sort of thing. But, I mean, nature is everywhere. There's a lot of nature, and it's often far away. And as you saw, we're not so many. So we really rely on the researchers themselves to take pictures and videos and tell us if they've done something cool that we should communicate. And I think over many years in NINA, we've sort of built a mutual trust so that the researchers and scientists, they trust that our purpose in life is to make their research as available as possible and to put their face on the internet and Dagsrevyen and all over the place. That's sort of what we like to do. And that's also why when we ask researchers at NINA, can you please film yourself in the field or film yourself when you do something cool? Almost always they say yes, even if it's way outside their comfort zone, like Tone Reibsen. Yeah. And she did do it again and again and a couple more times, and she sent all the films to me, and I just get so happy that that she's like, okay then, I'll just do it, even though I hate it.
Da kommer en serie med litt sånn småfakta, så kan du bare klippe når jeg har en naturlig pause. De vil krabbe opp som 5. års nymfestadium. Nei, nå har vi begynt på nytt. Og det som skjer da, det at... Jeg tror du må skru på mikken.
Yeah, so this last part, it ended up in the YouTube film, to be honest. So usually they trust us, and we don't abuse the trust, but sometimes it's too good. I just have to put it in anyway. So when we finally convince them, like Anders and Tone and our other colleagues, that they are awesome and people are going to love them and what they do is really cool and many people want to hear it, then it tends to snowball a bit sometimes. And these two guys, they went to the US last summer to check out the cicada bonanza that was there. Maybe some of you heard about it.
Sykt. Vi stoppet bare ved et tre i en park, liksom, og her, det øvler av sikader. De kommer opp av gresset og krabber opp i trærne ved siden av for å klekke, da.
I år helt spesielt år i Nord-Amerika. Det 2 årsklasser av sikader som klekker samtidig, og de utbredt nesten på samme område, og vi venter millioner av sikader.
Vi ser da, så til treet dritlenge, så kommer en landende rett på greia ved siden av, og jeg får mørskjelven, jeg klarer nesten ikke å filme mer.
Yeah. They sent me 1,200 video clips. So that was a bit overwhelming, but also very cool. So I sent some of the best stuff to VGTV and Aftenposten Junior and Forskning.no, and of course in our own channels. So that's kind of what happens when you open the door and say, okay, just bring it on, everything that you like, we'll do something cool with it. And of course there are some challenges as well, because as you can see, my colleagues are great communicators. They're really good. But they're also very busy, and their primary job is to do research, not communication. And they have to apply for grants to finance basically every minute that they work. They have to get the grants themselves. So sometimes when they've been out for 14 hours or even more, they forget to take pictures and forget to take videos. Very understandable, because they're so busy. But then maybe next time they'll remember. And then I'll be like, okay, then we can do something now. And we have some sort of motivational factors in the NINA system, to put it that way. And one of them is that popular communication is one of the criteria for promotion. And innovative communication is in the main strategy for NINA as a goal. And we do offer some training courses as well. But we feel that the best way to learn how to communicate is to communicate a lot. So that's why we like to make a lot of content together, and we let a lot of people try various things in our channels. And we doesn't necessarily have to be a success criteria that many people see it. Although it's always cool when something gets a lot of views or a lot of clicks. Sometimes the success criteria is gaining confidence in your own ability to communicate, or just sort of putting yourself out there and saying, oh, okay, it wasn't so bad after all, seeing my face on Instagram as I thought. So I quite often give the advice that when you're communicating, you don't have to sort of think that it's yourself. You're a representative for your species or for nature itself that can't speak for itself. So this is, we're getting close to the end. This is a bit of a crazy idea. And when I say we could let people do a lot of different things in our channels, we also try to speak a bit about context. Because it doesn't have to have the same scientific criteria to put a picture on a news story or a reel on YouTube. It doesn't have to have the same reference list as it does in a scientific publication, and everyone understands that. So this idea came from some of our Fram researchers, Moss researchers. And they wanted to combine science and art and music and put a bug body as the main character. And this is some behind the scenes.
Ja,
I mean, we have so many different sphagnum species in Norway. So many! Yeah, they are awesome. And some of them are tiny. You have to see them in the microscope to know that it's a different species. I love it. So this was a behind the scenes, but we also made a music video called Graver du I grava mi? If you dig in my grave. And this is a short excerpt of that.
10% av landet vårt er dekket av myr. Det var mer før. Så staten sa om veien svinger blir den for dyr. Ei økonomisk bør, og veien vokste fram. Det skjedde gang på gang, og biler sto i kø. Så myra måtte blø, men det vi ikke ville tro. Var at vi slapp ut flere tonn med CO2.
This is an example that context has matters a lot, because you probably couldn't put this in a scientific paper, but in a music video on YouTube, it was okay. And we used everything in this video. We used art, we used music, we used our VR cameras, we used our 360 cameras, we used drones, we used stop motion. I mean, it was a lot, and it was funded by the communications from kommunikasjonsmidler from the Norwegian Research Council. And to end this, I won't leave you without speaking about our most popular species, the iconic Arctic fox. Not only is it super cute, it's also a great example that restoration works. So many people want to come and make stories. They want to visit the breeding station. They want to come in the field. They want to come and release the foxes. But as much as publicity is good for funding and public opinion and gaining more knowledge about restoration, foxes don't love the attention so much. So most people are welcome, but luckily also Craig Jackson, who runs the breeding station, he's also a very good photographer. So he takes a lot of film and pictures that we can hand out to different media outlets and also put in our own channels like this one.
Is this the place we used to love? Is this the place that I've been dreaming of? Oh, simple thing, where have you gone? I'm getting old and I need something to rely on. So tell me when you're gonna let me in. I'm getting tired and I need somewhere to begin. And then you have a minute, what do we go? Talk about it somewhere only we know. This could be the end of everything. So why don't we go somewhere only we know?
Okay, thank you very much. And feel free to follow us on Instagram and YouTube and that sort of place to see more nature photos. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Juliette. That was excellent, and I didn't expect to be almost teary-eyed from the music. It works. So this is the Fram Talks, and it's the host is the Fram Center, which is an interdisciplinary research center with 21 research institutions collaborating. And now we're going to talk about another collaboration, which is Kjetil Rydland, who's a communication advisor from the University of Tromsø, who will introduce the collaboration between several research institutions for on how to use their video content. How can it be used and how can it be shown for future audiences? Please, welcome to the stage.
The screen is on as well? Yeah. This won't bring tears to your eyes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So, as Axel said, I work at the university, UiT, the Arctic University of Norway. And I've been a part of the Viten TV communications team for a little more than a year, which means I'm just talking about a process I didn't kind of participate in very much. But yeah, Viten TV, or Knowledge TV, perhaps, for those who are not fluent in Norwegian. Knowledge TV is kind of the literal translation from Norwegian, but since Viten also is kind of the main part of Vitenskap, the Norwegian word for science, perhaps Science TV could be a good name for it as well. But what is it? It's basically a streaming platform. For audiovisual content about science and knowledge and facts and debate. At the moment there's 4 institutions. There's my UiT, there's the University of Bergen, the University of Stavanger, and the Western Norway University of Applied Sciences, or Høgskolen på Vestlandet, for those Norwegians of you. The 3 others are all based on the west coast, down south. But let's watch some audiovisual content. And it's filled with text in Norwegian, so I'll try to live translate that as we go. Just hang on. Why do we have northern lights? How did 30 plastic bags end up in the stomach of a whale? How do you make a dry ice rocket? What happens inside a fusion reactor? You'll find the answers at Viten TV. An independent streaming platform, a counterweight to fake news and artificially generated content, based on research and fact-checked, with content from Norwegian knowledge institutions and with an historic archive of forgotten gold from academia. Perfect for curiosity seekers and inquisitives of all ages, with no ads and completely free. An investment for a future where knowledge is free and available to everyone. Yeah, I cannot take credit for anything of that, but... So this idea started in 2018 when several universities realized that they were missing a platform for much of the content they were producing, videos and podcasts. The national broadcaster had just shut down a cooperation with the universities called the Knowledge Channel, and the universities saw kind of a vacuum in the sector. So the idea of a Netflix, or perhaps more apt, a YouTube for science was born. And it took a while, but last fall we had our launch. So in other words, we've been operational for roughly 4 months. So how does it work? It's pretty simple. Each institution produces its own content, how and when they please, at their own cost, and usually with their own people. It's uploaded to the platform, and then it's basically out into the world. Viten TV has 1 employee, a curator, and her job is to curate the front page, work with the institutions, and also represent Viten TV at various occasions. We're also working on a solution for how to automatically archive the content to the National Library. There is currently not an app for phones or tablets, and the web page should be enough, but that might change depending on feedback. And again, to repeat, it's just a platform. It doesn't produce anything. All content comes from the 4 institutions. But why? Well, first, it's to make it our own. To own and present our own content in our way. we have a mission or obligation by law to do communication and dissemination of research. And this way, it will be on our terms, with no one externally to place ads in front of it or restrict it or, I don't know, push it in any direction. Secondly, is to make sure everyone can access our content. That it's free, both in that you're not paying with money or your privacy, and it's also free in the open access way. And a principle we follow when we publish our own research. And there are no gatekeepers. You don't need to make a user to access anything. And things won't get unpublished or censored or taken down for various reasons. Thirdly, is to create a place people can trust. You can trust that what you see on Viten TV is made by reliable sources. It contains facts and knowledge. It's not something a random YouTuber made up or something a foreign government kind of invented to do mis or disinformation. And this way we can be a counterweight to fake news or any uncertainty in the society, basically. And last, it's to make room for formats that don't really work well on other platforms. There are hour-long videos about old millstones and stuff that don't get primetime TV placements. Target audiences might be very narrow, format might be very long or strange. So again, it also kind of works as a counterweight for the short videos, for the short attention span induced publish. And also, we don't have to conform to any algorithms or the media discourse or the news cycle. But just to be very clear, the goal isn't here to replace mainstream or traditional media or social media. Viten TV is an addition. It's a supplement. And so to the questions many of you might have, the money. Development costs since 2018 has been roughly 5 million, and the yearly budget for running the platform is roughly 800,000 per institution. Now, hopefully we'll get more institutions with us eventually, and then price will go down. Usage numbers are rising. Currently, the last numbers I saw was roughly 3,000 plays per month from roughly 250 videos. Not exceptional, but numbers we hope will grow, both of them. So, but Viten TV, for at least my institution, is part of a bigger picture for communicating and spreading research, debate, facts, knowledge. We are, as I've talked about, invested both like principle but also economically in Viten TV. We are also members and co-financers of Forskning.no, which Axel represents, which is the biggest science news page in Norway. We are also part of Store Norske Leksikon, which is a free online encyclopedia funded by Norwegian universities and other institutions. And likewise, we are also financers, of Krono, which is a news page that it's dedicated to news about higher research institutions and policy. So, and also we run our own webpage, we do our own social media, and we work with and sometimes against the media. So yeah, it's all about trying to be available for people when they need us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. And it's interesting to see how you sort of spread out and do everything at once. Is it my microphone that's on or off? On now. There we are. From these sort of local Norwegian initiatives, we're going to take a look at the more sort of global reach. We will go to the University of Bergen's marine researchers who managed to cooperate with Netflix. And welcome Andrea Magliani, almost, Head of Communication for the Marine Strategic Area at the University of Bergen. Welcome to the stage.
Sorry, I need to have this here because I have 10 minutes autonomy, otherwise I suffocate. So I can speak more than 10 minutes because that's exactly the autonomy I have. But, well, you spoiled it. It's typical in the Netflix arena. But how many of you know this sound? Of course, it's Netflix, so thank you. But in the next 10 minutes, I will be telling you about the collaboration between Netflix and the University of Bergen and Netflix and OceanX. Netflix is the largest platform for streaming in the world with 300 million users. And the University of Bergen, thanks to this collaboration, we managed to put our logo willingly on the Arctic episode of Our Oceans, the most expensive documentary ever produced by Netflix and OceanX. I will tell you more about it soon. But what I will tell you about is how to do it. So I will share with you my 3 lessons learned from this collaboration. The first one is David and Goliath. The second one is to find your champion. And the last one is to touch base. So we start with the first one. You are all familiar with the story of David and Goliath. David was a small gunslinger and Goliath was a giant. Back in 2020-21, I was under the shower and I was the night before I watched Netflix and I was thinking, yeah, it would be cool to collaborate with Netflix. Why not? So through my network, I found the email address of a guy that knew some other guy. I spoke with my boss, and I told her, I want to send an email to Netflix. And she said, Andrea, let it go. You should concentrate on your job. Don't do it. Then she quit. And also the communication director of the university quit. So I had a period of what we call vacatio legis, when you have no boss. So I just reached out. I sent the email to this guy, and it bounced back immediately. And it said, I don't work any longer at Netflix, but for anything, take contact with the executive director in Los Angeles. And I called her. And I said, I was a friend of the guy to which I sent the email in first place. And I told her, the University of Bergen, we are one of the leading institutions in marine science. Oh, of course, Bergen, I have been there on holidays, and why don't you send me an email? And so I did. And this is the email. Do you see the email? Yeah, this is the email more or less that I sent, and I told her about the plastic whale and everything we do at the university. She called me back, and she said, of course we want to collaborate, and in 2 weeks you have a meeting with the executive producer of the Blue Planet 2, which is an Emmy Award winner and pretty iconic in terms of documentary production. So this is James Honeyboard when he received this Emmy Award for the Blue Planet 2. And I had 2 weeks to prepare the meeting. It was under the pandemic, the university was closed, so I did the only thing that I could think of. Called my friend Dorothy, which is sitting in the audience, and I told her, we have 2 weeks to prepare a meeting for James Honeyboard. And she said, the James Honeyboard? I said, yes, the James Honeyboard. So then we had to take a very, not very democratic approach, because in a university usually you should go to the rector and then to the deans and then to the institute leaders and so on, and find the democratic way of what we have. That's not what we did. We took an executive decision and we chose the topics we were going to present. And we did, this is the picture of us. We made a green room inside the university during the pandemic and we pitched for 45 minutes. At that, oh, you are not seeing it? Sorry. We had it very clear that the strength of the University of Bergen was both our marine environment for research, oceanography, but also our infrastructure. And they were really happy with us also because the way Netflix collaborates usually is that when they make documentaries, they identify researchers or academics that they use. So when they have a topic they want to explore, they take contact with them and they ask them questions. but the way we changed this way of collaboration is that Netflix, the University of Bergen, contributed to shape the narrative of the documentary as we were with them from day one. So we were there in shaping the story that they were saying. And when they were interested in a specific subject, they would ask us, do you think this is the right way? Or do you have someone that is a specialist on tuna, and so on and so on. So, long story short, this November, our Oceans series was launched on Netflix. As I mentioned, it's the most expensive documentary Netflix ever produced, and the University of Bergen is the scientific advisor to the Arctic episode. The voice is of Barack Obama, which is kind of nice. And we also got our logo that you see twice, so please try to watch it and see the logo of the university. It's on the ROV that goes underwater. And also, first time in your life, watch the credits at the end of the episode, where you will find the name of my colleague Dorothy and the University of Bergen. So you might wonder, okay, this is cool, it's very fancy to be on Netflix, but why is this important? Well, if you look at this graph, I borrowed it from James Honeyborn. It shows the so-called blue planet effect that shows that in 2017, after the Blue Planet was aired on the BBC, people suddenly went on the beaches of England and they started to pick up plastic from the beaches and so on. So the impact is real, and this kind of impact, you cannot reach it with a scientific paper. You can only reach it by having a huge megaphone as the BBC and as Netflix. So I also mentioned that Netflix is the largest producer of content in the world, but there are many others. Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO, and so on and so on. And these documentary producers, they need content. They need content all the time because they have to produce new documentaries, new stories, and so on. And they want our knowledge. They want the knowledge of research institutions because they have learned over time that if you break the trust with the audience, they will not follow you anymore and they will stop watching it. And a good example of this is the documentary Seaspiracy that was shown on Netflix and damaged the reputation of Netflix because what they showed was not research-based and there was a lot of debate around. Sorry for this. Yeah. I don't know, where is the microphone? Yeah. Next one is the Ocean Explorer. The Ocean Explorer is the most advanced research and media vessel in the world. Back in 2-3 years ago, I was in touch with someone. They made a short documentary at the university, and then I followed up. I got some contacts, and thank you. Apologies. Yeah, now you're giving two things to an Italian, and it's kind of... I don't know what to do. Do you hear me anyway? Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. The Ocean Explorer is the most advanced research and media vessel in the world. To give you a term of comparison, the Kronprins Haakon, that many of you might know, it costed around 175 million euros to produce. The Ocean Explorer costed 350 and is equipped with an helicopter, which is always on the ship. It has 2 submarines, 3 ROVs, and it's long 87 meters, and you can see it on Disney Plus now. It has a series dedicated to it. The inside was designed by James Cameron from Titanic, and it has a 5 stars Michelin star chef on board. So it is really amazing. You have to watch your diet when you go on. So they called me and they said, Andrea, I have the Ocean Explorer that is undergoing maintenance in the Netherlands, and then we have to test our equipment in Norway because the fjords of Norway are protected environments and so on. Do you want to use the Ocean Explorer for 2 weeks? And I said, okay, how much is it going to cost me? Nothing. Well, that I can do. So I launched a call on the university's website for researchers to come with their projects, and came a lot of different ideas. And then on the 31st of July of 2 years ago, we left the port of Bergen We had 5 different stations, up to 600 kilometers from Bremanger, from the coast of Norway, and we ended up in the Sognefjorden, the deepest fjord in Norway, and back to Bergen. We had 7 projects. Do you see the video? Yeah. We had 7 projects. Give you an idea of this kind of projects. Since the Ocean Explorer is equipped with submarines, we had the possibility of going down in the fjords and in open sea up to 1,000 meters. And this was 2 weeks after the Canadian submarine imploded in the international waters. And when it was my turn to go in the submarine, they told me, Andrea, you're going down at 1,000 meters. And 2 weeks after the Canadian submarine imploded. So my family was not very happy, but then I managed to put on my big boy pants and I went in the submarine. So the projects we had on board, one of them was to try to understand bioluminescence. 90% of the species in deep sea, they're bioluminescent. So our researchers, they want to figure out why are they bioluminescent. We don't know why, and it's a characteristic that so many of them are, 90%. So they collected through the submarine, which has an arm, collected sea stars, and they wanted to explore if they are bioluminescent as a defense mechanism, is to predate, or is to attract partners, and so on. So they could do it by collecting a sea star without damaging it, putting it in a box, and bring it back on the Ocean Explorer, where it could be tested in a dark environment. One of the amazing results scientifically from this expedition was that this beautiful manette jellyfish was observed for the first time. This is a bipolar manette jellyfish, not because it's bipolar, but because it lives on both poles. And we also had a lot of attention from the media. Apparently, the Norwegian media, they love the submarines, maybe because the Canadian submarine exploded. But we were twice on the daily news on TV2. They came on the ship when we left, and they showed our researchers and so on. We were also on Bergen and other media outlets. And the Ocean Explorer also has a fantastic YouTube channel with 500,000 followers, and they made one episode of several minutes for each one of our projects. So this is very good for dissemination, for showing our work worldwide, which is a platform that we otherwise would not have. So my first lesson learned is that these international actors, they recognize the University of Bergen, but also Norway as a key player in marine research, in oceanography, and everything that is related to the ocean. My second lesson learned is to find your champion, Dorothy Dunkel. So, as an administrative, I couldn't do this by myself. So the trick is that you need to find your champion among the academics, is people that you can engage, you can explain why, but they have to be the face. I cannot be the face because I'm an economist. I don't know anything about marine science. So then Dorothy helped me to engage with many other researchers, which became the pool for these actors to extract knowledge and utilize it. In this picture, you can see the crew on the Ocean Explorer. There are around 70 people. Our researchers were 16. So we had 70 people helping us to make our research become true. My last lesson learned is to stay in touch. This is really important, that when you have some contact in one of these organizations, you have to follow up. With OceanX, I was in touch with them for 2 years before I even knew about the possibility of utilizing the Ocean Explorer. Also with Netflix, I'm constantly in touch with them. If I can, I go and visit them, go for dinner, use your soft skills, use your networking, they're your network, and they need to have your organization in the back of your mind in case a possibility arises. Summarized, we are not David. Norway, the University of Bergen, and your organization as well, we are giants when it comes to the ocean. Find your champion. For me, was Dorothy. You will have your own Dorothy in your organizations. And touch base. When you have a good contact, keep in touch, follow up, and send emails, and stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very inspiring, and I'm quite sure that Netflix will get a lot of emails over the next couple of weeks and get some invitations. Now we will hear from another very interesting project, a traveling exhibition about living with the ocean. Please welcome Jorge Santos, marine biologist at the University of Tromsø, and Lily Mittner, coordinator at Center for Arctic Humanities at the University of Tromsø.
Hello, everyone. Close your eyes and imagine you are a researcher who gets the possibility to communicate your research on a marine promenade on 20 pictures or cubes. What would you do? So this was our challenge. We work together. We do both research on coastal cultures, and we work together with a museum in Sesimbra, Portugal, Sesimbra Maritime Museum. And we got this challenge to have those 5 cubes along the beach, and the task, do what you want. So we were free to do, and we had to decide what should we do, how should we do it, who should do it, how can we collaborate interdisciplinary, how do you want to communicate our research.
Yes, my name is Jorge Santos, and I'm a marine biologist. Yes, this was a big challenge for us. We are used to do outreach and receiving people at universities, showing them fish, showing them research ships, but this was a totally new challenge for us. Make fixed content that people will walk by and attract them. Basically give them a message, do whatever you want. Now, we are a very mixed group. We have people from the humanities, from lawyers in our group, and one of the research we have been doing in the last 10 years is about futures studies, foresight studies of technology, what technology will have, and the impact of technology in the sea. And actually, the way we approach it often is to go out to schools or wherever and make experiments with people, ask them questions. So when they are expecting us to come and tell them about the beautiful whales in the sea, or no, we go there and ask them questions. And the reason is because there's lots of information out there. We have Netflix, we have Nina, they put a lot of content there. So people have access to information. Now the question is, how do they digest that information? What thoughts they make out of it? So we together, we are a group. Lily, who is from the humanities, has also experience from working directly with old people and people often with dementia. It's also a sort of an experimental work. So our quest now was to make an exhibition that attract people, made them think, and also, this is very difficult because there are hundreds of thousands of people passing and you don't know who they are, and you have to shape an exhibition that fits many people. And we thought that just scientific facts or this nice natural nature is not enough, because some people are not attracted by that at all. Some people are more have a religious connection to the sea. Others have a sensorial relationship with the sea. They like to surf. So, like in Sesimbra, they like to do skimboarding. So we have to get the people by what they want, what they like. So it was a long process of putting together pictures and text that could attract people. It was new for us. It was a good experience. and we enjoyed. So it was good, I think, for the public, I hope. But for us as a group, it worked quite well. It put us working together. The method we used was we avoided giving lots of information because people have it in their heads. So what we did is we asked questions, and simple questions, open-ended questions, that forced people to stop, look, walk, but then come back, wow, what are they asking here? And looking at the picture again and make their own thoughts. So this is, you're seeing the boat with the immigrants. This is one of the sort of problems that we have in the ocean, or it's not a problem. It's up to you to see it, the way you see it. But it means that the sea not only separates us, but connects us. And it's an ethical, a political problem, not a biological issue. So we try to provoke a number of feelings in people. For some issues, like climate change, it's probably not so sensorial. This here was a more ethical problem. We try to provoke these sort of reactions with simple questions.
Yeah, and the design was similar for all the canvases, 20 canvases, all in combining a picture with a question. And they had, I don't have a pointer here now, but they have like a title and a reference where we got this picture from, and the title of the exhibition. And we worked together with Rui Diaz, who was an excellent designer here, and who helped us also to find the right color for each picture. So it's a combination of questions, pictures, colors, titles, and references that made each artwork. And the challenge for us was to make people stop, because when you walk along a coastal line, you are not prepared to be confronted with research communication. So how to make people stop and think. So this was our intention when we designed those canvases. And the languages came because of our background. This was a new project that combines coastal cultures in the north and south of Europe. So it was an English, Norwegian, and Portuguese language at the beginning. So the whole exhibition communicates research from the humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences, and it relates scientific questions to social, culture, and environmental context. So as George just said, in Sesimbra, many people, young people especially, they relate the sea with the surfing. So then we choose a picture from the surf beach, for example. So this is both a research communication, but also a research-based, or we call this for research-based educational intervention, because we would like that something happens. We would like to make people think. Yes, and here you can see the result. So colorful pictures along the beach promenade. This is from the opening of the exhibition, and it had a great effect that we did not expect, because we have never done an exhibition before. We are not educated in research communication. We are researchers, so we didn't know what will happen. But people really stopped and looked at this, and the local community engaged with the exhibition. The tourists engaged, the museum staff they are engaged on many different ways. And what we expected, that probably some of the canvas will be destroyed, it did not happen. So people behave. That's good.
So yes, and one of the things we do is when we trigger these interactions is to try to listen to people. And when we opened this exhibition in Sesimbra in Portugal, we took along our PhD students that participated. And we have here, in this picture, we have Mariana. Mariana is a fisheries anthropologist. She's working with the design of future technology. And the basis is to look at, understand the imaginaries of people. So she took contact with the people that stopped and looked, and she had dialogue with them. And people were very willing to talk. And she found that many of the trends that she observed there about the imaginaries of the future were the same that she was observing in Norway, which is good.
So the exhibition became a sort of backdrop for many different activities. Another one are co-creative activities where we engaged the local community here, elderly people, people living with dementia from my own research background, and younger people who created art with materials from the sea and connected to the questions we also addressed in the exhibition.
We also try to do, using the exhibition as a backdrop, activities targeted to different groups, because the exhibition is for everybody, but we wanted them to have small activities. And one of the activities was targeted towards senior people, people up to 96 years old, and also people with strong disabilities. And that was really, maybe for me, the best work. And we had, one of the things we did, we had a drone from the University of Tromsø, and we could drive the drone, and the people were driving the drone down to a historical wreck, which is outside the beach, and people were asking so many questions. They were so excited. We had this old lady that was asking, "What channel are we watching?" "No, madam, we are running at the submarine." "What? Do we have this thing here?" "Yes, it's right in front of you." And then there came these questions about history and ecology. Why do these things grow? What disappears first in a wreck and all that? So it was very exciting. And most exciting was probably the disabled people with disabilities that had so interesting questions and new ideas, and that's exactly what you need, is the new ideas. That's what we're looking for.
Another way to interact was a white canvas. So we had a totally blank canvas where we invited people to draw their own imaginaries of the futures, about the coast and future at the coast, and where people could express themselves. So this is also something that's very interesting for us to study afterwards. What are people drawing here? This picture is from the Arctic Arts Festival from Svalbardparken in Harstad. And there was the exhibition displayed the whole summer last year, from July to August. And this was also something we wished for, but we didn't know if it would happen, that the exhibition, when it first was made, could travel to other places. So in Harstad, our rector, Dag Rune Olsen, opened it together with the youth choir. And we had also an age exchange workshop there, in which we communicate our research and did research simultaneously. And now we invited other colleagues at UIT to create exhibitions that can be shown there this year in a similar way, because we have the statives, we have the wooden statives for the canvases that can be reused.
Yeah, so we hope that the exhibition would visit more than one place, and in fact it did. It's now traveling around the world. So with that hope, we try to do it cheap. This is a very cheap project, but we try to do it durable. These canvases have to last for a long time. And, but as I said, we had to do it cheap, and we were traveling ourselves with the canvas. And I can tell you the exhibition weighs about 40 kilos, and it's like jelly. 40 kilos of jelly that you try to pass in the airport without them noticing it. So, so we always try to find original ways of moving this exhibition. When we arrived in Harstad, Roy Solfjell, who is now, you see, is back there. He helped us with the trolley, but he also made these nice frames where we can hang the exhibition. And the good thing is that now these frames are there, and anybody from the university or from anywhere in Norway can make their own canvas and exhibit them there, maybe during the Arctic Arts Festival. They can stay there for months, as we did. So the frames exist, now we just have to print the canvases.
We also try to make it accessible as possible, so there's also a digital version of the more tangible output, both on a web page where you can download all the canvases in different resolutions, but also on Zenodo. We have alternative texts everywhere, and it's a CCB license for the pictures.
So this means that the exhibition can now be printed and immediately displayed anywhere in the world, and so of course for free. And we promote that, and that people, and we do workshops where people design their own canvases. So this is an example. We had it in Brussels, in a palace in the center of Brussels. We found they have these nice windows. The canvas fit exactly there, so we covered the palace with our canvases, but then we had to remove some because people need light indoors. So we hang some canvas inside. It was a big conference, and it was a very nice exhibition, but we had other activities as well. And here we have one of our co-authors, the director of the museum in Sesimbra.
And from Brussels travels also outside Europe to Sri Lanka now in December, where we again wanted to engage the people there. So we had to adjust it. We made new canvases, new languages. We used Tamil and Sinhalese language, and engaged the students and the staff to help us to make it suitable for this place and make it relevant for this place. So we are not coming with a fixed product, but we are situating it every time we go somewhere. And then also the workshops again. So.
Yeah, so we do mostly global issues, but we situate them. You know, the climate change in Norway and climate change in Sri Lanka are two different things, but it's still climate change. But if you show polar bears in Sri Lanka, it does not. Okay, so we try to situate it, and that means that you have to make new canvas. And we produced a new series in Sri Lanka that will now travel, hopefully in Asia. One of the spin-offs of this is that we made a book together with two of our students, and the book is a book of questions. So we based on our previous work, our previous ideas, and now we are developing it, and it's a book out there now with nice pictures of the coast and waters of Sri Lanka, and with these provocative questions.
Another way we used the exhibition to think further was a photo voice competition where we invited exchange students here at UIT to take pictures from their first impressions of Norway, make their own narratives, how they see Northern Norway, how they see the Arctic, and which is now also available online.
And another initiative of several we have had is that we traveled. We went on a tour with a professional choir, an initiative also promoted by the University of Tromsø. And we had this fantastic opportunity to work with professionals. They are really professional. And we had history and physics and deep water ecology from my side. And we combined that with music. And it was really a synergy because we were kind of pushing each other to the limit. Yeah.
Yes, and then we close with the last slide here, which is a summary of all the main messages. We have not only 3, we have 3 and 4, like the trivium and the quadrium. We have no time to go into this. You have to watch this on YouTube later and make stop on the film. But we have sponsors. You want to say something about them?
Yeah, well, so of course, I mean, we used all the money from one project to another project, and we travel around the world with it. The exhibition will still travel this in 25 around the world. With little money, but many people has helped us, both physically and with ideas, but also financed. And we are very happy for that and for being here with Arctic Frontiers as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now we heard so many inspiring talks, and we will get Lise Øvre Aas and Bo Andersen up on the stage for a little chat. And the thought now is that we've heard from a lot of very interesting and very professional communicators, and you are both esteemed researchers. And it's very inspiring what we've been hearing today, but I want to sort of go into the sort of the problematic parts of this. Lisa, do you think that every sort of research that you've been doing could be communicated in these inspiring ways?
First of all, I would say that it has been fantastic to look at all these videos and to learn all these and to enjoy these journeys that we've been taken along. But if you don't study these big animals or the cute little things or whatever, and if you don't have these visual things that you can see or you can feel that, or you get excited or whatever, it might be a challenge to reach out with your science. And for me, as a microbial ecologist, I study bacteria. You can't see them. People usually think of bacteria as something that makes disease, something that we don't want to connect with. So I often have to spend a lot of my time just to convince why should I study these microbes. And I can say that me, as a person, I have more microbes in my body than I have my own human cells. 3 to 5 kilos of me are microbes. So, and then you realize these are not dangerous for me. They are my friends, and I need to be in a balance. So the human body as an ecosystem is so important with the microbes. So it's a long time you have to tell, convince, negotiate why we should study microbes. And it's also the attention. Sometimes you only have a few couple of seconds, minutes to grab the attention of people, and I've already been talking quite a lot. But when you saw Andrea was showing the jellyfish with the bioluminescence, come on, who's doing the bioluminescence? That's the microbes, it's not the jellyfish. So are you interested in the mechanisms? I'm the person to talk to, okay?
Okay, because I thought that I would ask you, do you wish that you studied cats instead? But now it shows that what you're studying is actually very visual, can be, if it's connected to the bioluminescence.
I mean, I'm studying the diversity of the microbes, and again, can the diversity be so big when they just look like 2 dots in the microscope? But after we started with molecular tools, we realized that the genetic diversity between 2 dots in a microscope is much bigger than me and the pine tree out there. So that's, again, and the evolution of the planet has been going on for such a long time, and the microbes are ruling the evolutionary history. So no, I would not, I just love my microbiology. But I mean, it's the thing of showing and try to engage the people or convince to. So I always have to use this long time to convince. I've also been sitting next to the pilots, running an ROV to the bottom of the ocean, and then suddenly I saw something that I was just so excited, and I yelled out, and I was so happy. And the pilot, he was looking at me, and he said, "You're crazy." I've been doing this for many years. I've never seen anyone getting so excited for looking at that browny, gluey thing on the bottom of the ocean. But just knowing that was biogenic produced iron, hello, it was so. Okay, but I have one quote that I would just like. So I have a colleague of mine, and he said, and this is just to put it in a context. He said, this was a review paper from 2006. He said, "I make no apologies for putting microorganisms on a pedestal above all other living things. For if the last blue whale shocked to death on the last panda, it would be disastrous, but not the end of the world. But if we accidentally poison the 2 last species of ammonium oxidizers, that will be another matter. It could be happening right now, and we wouldn't even know it." So my point, these are the drivers of the whole ecosystem. So this is knowledge that we really need to emphasize and need to sell. I'll stop.
Yeah, no, but that's very interesting because when we communicate science and research findings, in my experience, it's very important to sort of connect to what people can create images. But Bo, do you think that something is lost when that's the way we communicate?
In general, yes.
Why?
But perhaps that loss is necessary to get some information out. But I mean, I'm an astrophysicist, and right now I lead the steering group of the Fram Center. And there, this is an interdisciplinary group. And the first thing we require is that they collaborate together on natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities. And it takes a while until they speak the same language. And they've been very happy that they have been forced to speak different languages, to communicate what they do, and they get new ideas because people think differently. But being a solar physicist, I can show the sun, but what I do is not very interesting. No, most scientists are mediocre, like me. And it means that most of the scientific results we provide do not bring the world significantly forward. But it contributes in the big scientific country where you contribute small things and you're disproved and you move on in the Popperian way to new areas. So we should not make our science more important than it is. Science is important because it increases our total humanity.
And is that sort of a problem when it comes to science communication? It's because it's sort of selling science as I wouldn't say commodity. I think that science communication is quite different from selling toilet paper at the store. But does something happen with that translation into making it publicly accessible?
Again, like I said, you have to make compromises when you want to make it in a language that people can understand and present it in a manner that works for people. But at the same time, like I said to other people here, we have 86,400 seconds every day. And we don't get more of that. But the information that is floated onto us in different media has gone up 100, 1,000 times in my head than it was when I started studying 50 years ago. So you have to adapt to that, but you cannot, in that sense, jump to easy conclusions, because real science in the science forefront always has mutual answers. In the forefront, you do not know the answer. That means you have answers that go both ways until you find the answer and it's not in the forefront of science anymore. And that is, of course, really a big problem with all these fake facts issue, because they take in the forefront of science the small discrepancies that are and hang on to them. But all in all, the time that each of us has to really learn things has gone down because we're trying to learn even more things.
And yeah, and as you say that we get so much information, and the media is ever contributing to more. How do you find sort of the news media using scientific evidence today? Do journalists today understand it, or is it something lost?
Journalists do not understand it. No, they're selling a goods. And it means if you give them an answer with a big uncertainty, they if the temperature on the Earth will go up with 5 to 8 degrees. The next day it'll say, at least 8 degrees the temperature will go up. I mean, that is a way, because when you go in and try to sell things, something is lost, but it may not be only negative, because you can get the information on. But still, who will read things? people who think that climate change is bullshit will never read anything about climate change saying as a scientist provide. And the same thing, possibly many of us will not read what these bullshit people write also.
Lisa, you've been quite engaged in a political debate in Norway concerning a question that we saw on screen here. Should our metals come from that we use in our cell phones, should they come from the oceans? I think I know what your answer to that question would be. Could you just tell us how was your experience in getting involved in that political process, and did you feel that you could actually sort of affect the public opinion through your sort of scientific-based engagement?
Well, I mean, I got excited about this because, as I was saying, when I was looking and saw all the biological activity going on in 2,000 meters depth in the dark, deep, dark ocean, knowing that we only have described 25% of what lives down there, and also realizing that we are analyzing and detecting new organisms, defining new organisms that haven't been described before, new mechanisms of life. We're writing new textbooks. And then at the same time, we are thinking, okay, the Green Deal, we're going to have an energy transition, and we should go into electricity. We need the elements from the deep ocean. And not knowing the consequences of going down there and destroy the life that have taken, some of the organisms living there have been taken thousands of years to develop and to evolve. So for me, I mean, I've been so excited to look at new organisms, new function, new metabolisms. These are organisms living together, and together they can do things that they can't do alone. I mean, things that you would never believe happened just 10 years ago. So just being kind of excited by these mechanisms, and then trying to say that, okay, maybe we, and I also think that we have enough elements on the surface, so we don't have to do the deep sea, and we don't know the consequences of it. So I have really tried to give my voice into this discussion.
And the discussion is that Norwegian politicians wanted to open up
for deep sea mining.
Deep sea mining, yeah. Which could, in your mind, potentially destroy this very interesting climate down there.
Yeah. I mean, we know that we're dependent on the ocean. The ocean has been really, for the climate change, it has been buffered with acidification and whatever. So we are kind of at the tipping point with how much the ocean can stand of dumping things into the ocean. So that's one thing. And then also, the consequences of what we are doing if we are starting this process. The other thing that also frustrates me a little bit is that, I mean, the government opened up for a search and maybe an extraction later on. But they're also opening up for the industry to fill the knowledge gap. And then as a scientist, I mean, we are supposed to be free and independent scientists, and I think that's so important that the free and independent science are the ones that are delivering the research and the data to fill the knowledge gap of this. And I'm a little bit disappointed that, because I'm not the only one scientist, biologist saying this. This is a huge group of scientists stating these things. And still it's like, we hear what you say, but we don't really care.
Yeah, so you experience what every climate scientist have experienced for decades, that we hear what you say, we just don't want to do anything about it. Yeah. I thought we could open up for some questions. You can ask questions to our little panel here, or to any of the people who have contributed today, if there is anything that you would like to have answered. Do we have an extra microphone, or should we use this one?
Thank you. I'm Erasmus Benestad from the Norwegian Meteorological Institute, and I've been one of those who have been sort of hacking on this climate scientist for 25 years. And I like your question, or like your observation, like we hear what he's saying, but we don't care. I wonder, what can we do about it? Like, we have a lot of experience, and I hope that within the climate community that where climate scientists sit down together and discuss this and see, okay, what's your experience? Like, what can we do about it? Is it that they just say that, but they don't really understand what we actually talk about? Because we tend to talk in a language that most people don't understand. If I go and talk to part of my family the way I speak to my colleagues, I wouldn't wonder what am I talking about, right? So I think we need to have some kind of seminars between maybe the scientists, but also maybe some communication experts, because I don't think they even understand us. To understand, okay, what went wrong? What could we do about it?
Yeah, I think I wanted to phrase you, because didn't you just say in the previous talk that the climate communication to IPCC have failed totally? So with that backdrop, what can we do to sort of, as a science community, communicate in a more perhaps efficient way that actually affects not only the minds of the public, but also the politicians?
I agree. I mean, the wording, the language you use, but it's also something that is a bit challenging, because if you make it for too popular science, you kind of lose some of the details, some of the minor things that is important. So what I have engaged with doing is been working with these European Academy institution, and we have made kind of these mini IPCC reports. And in many examples has been very good, and then we are approaching the decision makers in Europe. So I mean that is usually a quite good mechanism. But I've seen in Norway, I mean with the utbygging. And I mean, and Oslofjorden. I mean, suddenly, I mean, we know it's dying because of the ammonia, and then suddenly this the
gun factory.
Yeah, suddenly realize that we've given all the ammunition to Ukraine, and now we really need to produce new, and then we can just dump loads of ammonia into the fjord again. That's okay for a couple of years, right? And it's almost dying in front of us. So. I don't know. I think someone else needs to answer.
I think, first of all, I disagree with Rasmus saying that IPCC has not done its job. But it shows that it is impossible to argue against completely motivated people that have a different opinion. And I think what we saw here on using Netflix and using social media. I mean, I'm an old geezer, and I don't watch Netflix that often. I watch YouTube sometimes to fix a tractor, but that's a different thing. But the point is, you have to use the language and the format that the recipients has a possibility to understand. But you must not lose the uncertainty that you have in the forefront of science. And lastly, don't give up, because you will never change the mind of a person that does not see it fit to change their mind for themselves. So for me, one mustn't give up. You must fight and speak the right language, but some people, it won't help, I guess.
We can have just a quick question, the last one, I think.
Oh, what an honor. Thank you. A lot of times scientists speak about a tipping point. You mentioned it as well. Do you think it could be possible that we could also come to a tipping point when it comes to communication, when there is so much information and communication out there that it just becomes impossible to ignore?
We've passed that a long time ago. No, there is so much information, and we are only, and all of us, are only working in our own echo chambers. like all our people who do not understand science, they also work in their echo chambers, and they will not look over to us. So we have created so much information that we cannot reach everyone. That's my opinion.
Yeah, do you want to comment?
I completely agree with this. It's it can. You were saying that someone is also so annoyed when you talk about the climate change and the climate, etc. But I think we still need to repeat that, and we need to but maybe add some new information in it and try to show it from different angles, because that's important. I also see that in science, I mean, it's all these small steps that is so important to get to the big discoveries, etc. And that's, I think we need, at least I need to learn more to communicate these small steps along the way to something bigger. But yeah, but I mean, tipping point is important, why don't they? I mean, we have even reached the Paris goal now, and we have dramatic conditions going on. So it's a challenge. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for participating in this talk, and thank you to all the contributors for your inspiring examples and talks. And I think we just have to keep on keeping on. Yeah. Thank you very much. Tack ska du ha.